Aaron Judge hit his 300th home run faster than anybody in baseball. Is he one of the greatest hitters in MLB history? Let's talk about it. This is First Pitch. Yes, welcome on into First Pitch for Thursday, August 15th. I'm Lindsay Crosby with baseball writer for Athlon Sports. He's Christian Rauh, managing editor of InsideTheCardinals.com. And Christian, tons of games yesterday, great games going all night. But obviously, the big story here is Aaron Judge hitting his 300th home run. One, leads the majors, 43 this season. But this is something, his 955th career game. Okay. Not only had nobody hit 300 career home runs in less than 1,000 career games, he obliterated the record by more than 100. Hall of Famer Rauh hit his 300th home run in 1,087 games. So Judge does it 132 games quicker than Rauh. And if you look at it by at-bats, it's still incredibly impressive, right? 3,431 at-bats for Aaron Judge. The next quickest pace was Babe Ruth, 3,831. Literally 400 at-bats better than the guy that we consider one of the greatest home run hitters in baseball history. So when you look at what Aaron Judge is doing this year, slugging percentage is 701, right? And nobody has finished a season where they had 300 plate appearances and had a slugging percentage in the sevens since Barry Bonds. Man, whenever you're compared to Barry Bonds, you're doing something right, okay? So I think here's my question. The first question, we're a couple about the Yankees here. First question here. Aaron Judge gets kind of unfairly pigeonholed sometimes as just a slugger, right? But is it possible that he's actually just one of the best hitters in baseball history, like all-around hitters that we've ever seen play the game?
I think there's an argument for it. I think that there's definitely an argument for it. Now, I think when everything's all said and done, I think he will be seen as one of the greatest sluggers. I think that just happened by default because of the amount of home runs he has. But if you're looking deep into it, and I think, baseball fans they should look more into statistics, more than just the home runs and RBIs, might I mention. But Aaron Judge, yes, he is a great hitter, fantastic hitter. Look what he's done with these home runs, slugger hitter, whatever you want to call it in this sense, as you mentioned, with the 132 games quicker, 400 less at bats. That's a whole season less of production than Hall of Fame players that we see as some of the greatest of all times. He's doing it a whole season less than these Hall of Famers. It's very impressive what he's doing. He's doing it in an era where it's, the pitchers are at the very best they've ever been as well. So, you gotta love what Aaron Judge is doing here. But if in 30 or 40 years, Lindsay, when we're talking about Aaron Judge, are we going to talk about him being the greatest home run hitter of all time, the greatest slugger of all time, the greatest hitter of all time? Is that going to be in the consideration? I think so. And I think you can make the argument that it's not just his home runs that are what make him so great. I agree with you. I think he could be considered one of the best hitters in this game's history.
Yeah. And looking at non-home run production, right? Obviously 707 slugging leads baseball. 1174 OPS leads baseball. But 110 RBI, which is a team stat more so than an individual stat, 110 RBI leads baseball. 102 walks leads baseball. 14 of those intentional. That also leads baseball. Total bases 301, OPS plus of 224. Like, all of these things lead baseball. And it's not the first time he's done this. He led baseball in on-base and slugging in 2022 when he won the MVP and hit 62 homers on a Yankees team that had nobody around him. It was him and nobody else. And now, obviously, you have Juan Soto. And, Soto hit a couple home runs just the other day. The only two hitters in baseball with a 3.45 slash line or better, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto. And both of them have slugging percentages above, not in the fives. Soto's at a 615, Judge is at the 707. So Juan Soto, 34 homers, more walks than strikeouts. He got intentionally walked yesterday to bring up Aaron Judge.
For number 300.
For number 300. Grady Sizemore is in, I think, his 6th game as an interim manager for the White Sox. 6th game, I think, ever managing, period, any level. He's going to be remembered for this, for intentionally walking Soto to get to Judge and let Judge hit his 300th of all time. And a great trivia question in future years. Who was the manager?
Can you imagine that narrative? The 10 and 100 Chicago White Sox allow the walk to Juan Soto.
Intentionally walked Juan Soto to get to Aaron Judge to let him hit the home run. Yeah.
10 and 100. Oh my God.
But okay, so Soto's batting 307, 1. OPS. You had a great question for me yesterday, and I kind of had to think about it for a second. Is Juan Soto being this good in this lineup pricing himself out of the Yankees? Pricing himself out of the Yankees for next season? Can they afford to re-sign him to a long-term deal?
Yeah, I hate the rain on the parade of how well the Yankees have been as of lately, especially between Soto and Judge. You mentioned Judge's walks, how he's already at 100 walks. Well, Soto is at 100 walks as well. Both Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, the first pair of teammates with 30 plus home runs and 100 plus walks within their first 122 games this season. Shout out.
That's a Sarah Lang stats. Yeah, that's a Sarah Lang stat. I love that.
Shout out Sarah Langs. But yeah, look at what these guys are doing. Juan Soto is going to arguably be the hottest free agent in the market come this offseason.
One of the hottest we've ever seen, right?
Yeah, right. I don't know if we're going to see Shohei Ohtani numbers. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think it's going to be that close. It's going to be as close as we've ever been when it comes to Juan Soto. And I think that's the thick of it. So with that being said, can the Yankees afford him? Will the Yankees even make a valid offer to him? That's a really solid answer. Have we seen that happen? Aaron Judge was up for free agency a few years ago, and we were down to the possible minutes of him leaving to go to San Francisco, right? Arson Judge almost went to Aaron.
I was about to say, that wasn't Aaron Judge. That was Arson Judge, his cousin. Arson Judge almost went to San Francisco.
Well, regardless, the fact that the Yankees even allowed that to be a rumor for arguably who might come down as the greatest Yankee of all time, that might come up in the air. Yes. Are you going to let Juan Soto do that as well? So I think that there is a really strong chance that we don't see Juan Soto in a Yankees uniform next year. And it's not because the Yankees don't want him. I think it's because they might not be able to afford him. A lot of things that are not going their way when it comes to the books. You still got to pay for Stanton. Yes, they might be able to get Verdugo and a couple other people off the books, but will that be enough? I'm not sure, Lindsay.
Yeah. So context there, Verdugo's making $8.7 million this year. He is signed for next season. These are the Mayhew, I think, is the bigger problem. He's making $15 million this year at age 35. They haven't wanted to play him that much at second and third. He is signed through 2027. I think I'm taking the flip side of this. I feel like they learned from the Aaron Judge saga. And it's a Scott Boras guy. He's going to make it to free agency. They're not going to sign him to an extension during the season. But I do feel like you've seen that with these two guys in the lineup back to back, you are set. Your offense is good enough as it is to have one of the best records in baseball. And so it's the New York Yankees. They're spending $320 million on their salary this year. It's the second highest payroll in baseball. But it's the New York Yankees. And I think they understand we've got to do this, right? Stanton signed through 2029. He is $32 million on your books, but you're only paying $22 million for him because the Marlins are still paying part of that deal. But it just feels like they're going to find a way, right? You're going to find a way to get out from under LeMahieu. You're going to probably move on from Verdugo because you're going to have Dominguez, and behind them somewhere is Spencer Jones as well. And so I counter with, I don't think there's any way that they move on from Juan Soto, who could go down as one of the best hitters in baseball history as well. I mean, another great Sarah Lang stat. He has 194 career homers. It's the 8th most in history by a guy who has yet to turn 26. And the list of guys in front of him, are almost universally either Hall of Famers or guys that we expect to eventually make it. Jimmy Fox, Eddie Matthews, Alex Rodriguez, Mickey Mantle, Albert Pujols, Mel Ott, Frank Robinson. Like a who's who of hitters. And so it feels like this is probably one of the few 12 or 14-year deals you can do where you feel like this dude can still perform on the back half of it because he's only 25 years old. So I think they'll find a way. I'm curious to see how the money works out, mind you, but I think they'll find a way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we just saw Otani. A lot of it was deferred, so maybe the
Yeah.
Yankees take something from them. I'm really interested to see, because he's a Boris client, how the negotiations are going to work out with him this year, because Boris did not have a good offseason last year.
No.
So now you're bringing in the hottest free agent of the season with Juan Soto. I wonder if negotiations go a lot quicker. Maybe that means less counters, and maybe that does mean that Soto gets a deal. So I'll be interested to see how Boris works this offseason. That's going to be an interesting narrative.
Yeah. Going from a team that has a Boris client reaching free agency to a team that signed a Boris client, Arizona Diamondbacks. They signed Jordan Montgomery, struggled earlier in the year, started to come to form, but they are 9-1 in their last 10 games. They had a great game yesterday, got a little league home run by Jock Peterson, of all people, who you think of as a total speedster, right?
Fastest
man alive. And it's interesting how they've been doing this, right? We talked about them getting some of these pitchers back. Eduardo Rodriguez finally made his debut. Jordan Montgomery's looking a lot better than he did when he first started. But a lot of injuries. Gabriel Moreno's out. Christian Walker's out. Ketel Marte, they're hoping to get him back sometime this weekend against Tampa Bay with that ankle sprain that he got I think it was last Friday was Saturday was the issue. He sat out Sunday. He played Monday, aggravated it in the first, hasn't played since. They're not going to IL him. They think he'll be back sometime this weekend. They also had to option down Alek Thomas. But in the meantime, they're getting great contributions from Geraldo Perdomo. Jock Peterson is raking his DH. Lourdes Gurriel's injury was kind of minor. Jake McCarthy is incredibly hot. Do the Diamondbacks have the offense to keep going down the stretch without Christian Walker and Gabriel Moreno and maybe Ketel Marte?
I think you hold Ketel Marte off as long as possible, because look, you have an ankle injury. Why rush him back? You are 9-1 in the last 10 games. You're only 2.5 games behind the Dodgers for the NL West lead. You're sitting pretty comfortably in the wild card. I would rather have him in the stretch for September and the rest of the postseason than worry about him coming back maybe a week too early. Like, you are in a spot where you can afford to have Ketel Marte sit for maybe one more week to ensure that he's 100%. Would I love to have him back on the field? Yes, because if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani, we might see an actual conversation for him being in the National League MVP. In my mind, I do think that we're going to get our first DH MVP. Sorry, Arizona. I think that's just going to happen. But the Arizona Diamondbacks, do they have enough offense? Yeah, I think they absolutely do. I think that we're finally starting to see Corbin Carroll come up. Jock Peterson's, you mentioned, a great platoon. And although he's better against lefties there, right? So I'll tell you what, I think Arizona is. I think they're gonna win the NL West. I went to the San Diego Padres early, but I think the Diamondbacks are gonna do it. I don't think the Dodgers are gonna win the NL West. There, I'll put it that way, right? It's either gonna be the Padres, or the Diamondbacks, but I don't think it's gonna be the Dodgers. I don't think it's gonna happen.
Here's the flip side on this, and this isn't on the rundown, so I'm kind of surprising you with this. But Arizona's schedule, 9th hardest down the stretch. They've got 4 against LA. That's going to help, obviously, with that conversation. 7 against the Central leading Brewers. So 2 series left against them. They've got to play San Diego 3 times, the Houston Astros 3 times. They've got Boston. They've got New York. And as far as their, I guess, easy wins, 3 against the Rockies, 3 against the Marlins, and then 2 against the Rangers. But other than that, they don't get the White Sox. They don't get the A's. They don't get some of those historically awful teams, right? So I'm curious about what happens there versus a team like San Diego, who doesn't have as nearly as hard of a slate coming in. They do get games against the White Sox, and they get the Tigers, and they get, Tampa Bay for 3 and all of that. Curious there. Also, it's something to watch for. We talked about Gabriel Moreno being out and them needing a catcher. The Colorado Rockies have put former All-Star MVP Elias Diaz on waivers. So they can claim him. All they got to do is pay the rest of his salary. they can claim him and bring him in if they want a high ceiling option at catcher better than what they currently have. So something to watch there.
I will say this about that schedule thing you just brought up. Yeah, they might have a tough schedule moving forward, but
Yeah.
since the All-Star break, they also have series wins against the Cleveland Guardians, the
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia Phillies,
Yep.
and the Kansas City Royals. So they've been doing it in that stretch. So yes, they might
That
have
is
a tough
true.
schedule, but they have been proving that that's not being a problem right now.
That is very true. Another team with a kind of tough schedule that they're having to fight through right now, the Pittsburgh Pirates, not having a great go of it at the moment. They have fallen off a bit. They're now 12 games out of the Central. They're 0-10 in their last 10 games. So
Wild.
they literally 10-game losing streak. They're out of the wild card by 8 full games. So there was a conversation there for a little while about could they get a wild card behind the strength of their pitching. Jared Jones obviously has been out. Paul Skenes has been really good. But given that they have fallen, in essence, out of the race now, I mean, they're not completely out, but they are fourth. They are the fourth worst, fourth farthest team from the wild card in the National League. Only teams behind them, Washington, Miami, and Colorado. Do we potentially see them shut down Paul Skenes for the rest of the year to save his arm and just have him get ready for next season?
Yeah, there's no incentive for him to win Rookie of the Year, right? Because he didn't start the season off
Well,
with Pittsburgh.
not for them. No, yeah.
Right. No, right.
Since since they didn't they called him up late enough where he would not normally get a year of service time, so therefore he is not eligible for the prospect promotion incentive. Or correction, they are not eligible to get a prospect promotion incentive pick for him.
Right.
If he is first or second, he still gets the year of service time, but they don't get anything if he wins Rookie of the Year.
So it seems like it's in a complete favor for the Pirates since you're already out of it. Because let's be honest, 8 games out of the wild card at right now in that log jammed National League, 8 games is a lot. Is it doable? Yes, but the way they've been playing, 10-game losing streak, their run differentials -31, their expected win loss is about where they're at right now. So that's that's crazy to say after a 10-game losing streak, but it's hard to not say, hey, maybe you should shut down Skenes. This is his first pro year of pro ball. He is only 1 year removed from pitching in the College World Series, Lindsay. So I think it's time that maybe you do have to have that tough conversation to, okay, maybe we have him at least skip a couple starts here and there and limit his innings. But I don't know if you go to a full shutdown, but I think the conversation is warranted for sure.
And I think they have some cover if they try it because he just had his statistical worst start of the season. 6 innings against the Dodgers, 4 runs on 6 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. The 4 runs allowed is a high for him this season. He's not allowed that many runs in a single start. He had a higher ERA in his first start of the year. He allowed 3 runs in 4 innings to the Cubs, but this was obviously not a quality start, which is kind of surprising for Paul Skenes. But I think baseball's changed enough where the outroar, the outcry would be so incredibly loud if they were to try to shut him down. And at this point, I think he could legitimately. It's like him and Jackson Merrill 1 and 2 for the Rookie of the Year. Either way, he's going to get the year of service time.
Right.
And so, given his workload, given what he threw last season, because we kind of forget this that last year between college and the pros, he had a pretty decent workload. He threw 122 and 2/3 innings last year in college alone, and then made another 5 starts in the minors last season. They weren't incredibly long, but he hit almost 130 innings last year. He's only at 92 right now. It feels like as much as you want to shut him down for injury prevention reasons, at this point, you might as well just let him pitch because it's really hard to justify to baseball. And I have a feeling of all players, he's probably the one guy that if you tried to shut him down just to manipulate service time or whatever, send him down, whatever you did, the league office would call you, right? You would get a phone call from the league office saying, hey, this is blatant manipulation. You can't do this. The PA is going to file a grievance. You have to just let him pitch. And I think that's kind of where we are with this right now.
That's fair. So there's about 40 games, give or take, left. So that would mean that he's probably got around 8 starts left. So he's probably going to get around that 130, 140 mark if he pitches every single one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad, but it's still it's still questionable of like if you're out of the race,
Right.
why do that to an arm? Because arms go. We've seen it. Arms go, and you have a young core right now. You build
Yeah.
around it for the next year. I guess I could see both sides. As a baseball fan, I certainly do not want to see Paul
Yeah. No.
Skenes sit. I certainly do not want to see it. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's going to win the NL Rookie of the Year with a below one WHIP. Like, come on, that's great. So, I want to see Paul Skenes pitch, but if he gets sit or if he sits or he gets a start skipped here and there, I would not be surprised.
Yeah. On the note of, oh, full caveat here. I did not, when I did the 92 innings, I did not pay attention to his AAA starts. He did throw 27 innings in AAA. So he is a lot closer to that 120 or 130 innings from last season when you count what he did in the minors this year. So there is that caveat. That's on me. I did not see that on Baseball Reference when I was going through his stats there. Talking about minor leaguers, though, in AAA, Jason Dominguez, outfielder for the New York Yankees, the Martian, as he's called, hit a home run yesterday in AAA. And I think here's my question. We're back to the Yankees for a minute on this. Alex Verdugo has been leading off for the Yankees and playing left field, and he's not been good. 17 games as a leadoff hitter over the summer. He's batting .250 with a .294 on base. Why are they playing Alex Verdugo at leadoff and left field and not Jason Dominguez?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I thought they should have put Jazz Chisholm at leadoff when he was on the squad until he got hurt, but they never did that. I mean, it worked out for him. He was having some great production, but Jazz is a great leadoff hitter. But I'm with you at Verdugo. I think they definitely need to make a change there. Jason Dominguez seems like a perfect fit. He had a nice little cup of coffee or a thermos, if you will, 31 at bats in his
4
MLB
home
debut.
runs and
4 home
31
runs.
at bats last year before that elbow injury.
980 OPS, Lindsay, in those 31 at bats. Now, we were laughing about this before the show, but he was hitting a home run in the majors just over every 7 at bats. Now, I don't think that's going to continue when he makes his way back up here, but in his minor leagues this season, he's still doing fantastic. He's got an 830 OPS. So there's nothing in my mind that tells me why you shouldn't bring him back up. He's obviously looks like he's healthy again. He sat out for quite some time this season. He's already got 140 at bats in the minors, and he's looking good doing it. I don't know why you wait until September call-ups, because obviously it seems like he's got to be one of the names that you call up in the next 2 weeks, but why not do it now? You just had to move Jazz Chisholm to the injured list. You brought Peraza up instead. He hasn't played since he got the call up. So why not make the move of Jason Dominguez and actually make an improvement to your starting lineup?
Yeah, I mean, this is Oswaldo Cabrera can play anywhere, right? They've used him at third base. He can back up shortstop if Anthony Volpe has to leave a game for some reason. He's played shortstop at the major league level before. Send Peraza back down to Scranton Wilkes Barre. Let him play every day. Let Dominguez be in there.
Cabrera's played this year, right? He's played shortstop this year.
Yeah, he's played shortstop. Each of the last 3 years, he's gotten at least one start and multiple defensive substitutions at shortstop so far this year. So he can be your backup shortstop. You have somebody who can play third base. Let him do it. But talking about guys who can play every day. And in the outfield, Michael Harris II came back for Atlanta last night, activated after 2 months on the IL with a hamstring strain, first major one of his career. First swing in the first inning, grand slam in Oracle Park, lands in McCovey Cove. First time an opponent has hit a home run into McCovey Cove this season. One of the kayakers out there didn't give them the ball back, said he was going to keep it. He's never caught a grand slam before. You didn't catch this one, the water did, but whatever. You've got 53 career home runs that you've retrieved out of the Bay. Let the kid have his first career grand slam back. But is his addition enough for the Braves to keep a hold of that third wildcard spot and hold off the New York Mets and the Giants and the Reds?
McCovey Dave, I think that's his name. And yeah, they said he's going to hold on to the ball. I did see some things on socials this morning where he made a negotiation with the Giants. He's not sure if they're going to take it or not. So I don't know what that means, but we'll see if he gets his ball back. I really wanted to see Michael Harris pull a Max Muncy and yell at Robbie Ray and tell him to go get it out of the ocean, because I just thought that was so iconic, but I don't think we didn't see that. He did that, as you mentioned, to Robbie Ray, a Cy Young winning player a couple years ago. His first swing. Yeah, welcome back, Michael Harris. Nice to see it. Is he going to be
Also,
enough? Go ahead.
sorry, fun fact here. 5 runs were scored by the Braves. That was the only ball put into play. Robbie Ray hit by pitch, walk, walk in a run,
Yeah.
grand slam. So he left after 2/3 of an inning, 5 earned runs, 1 ball put into play. Wild. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sometimes you just don't have a good day. But
Nope.
Michael Harris, can he be enough? I mean, if he's doing what he's doing right now, I mean, everybody was getting home runs against the Giants last night. Everybody. I mean, cue the Oprah meme. It was happening. But if Michael Harris II can continue this and give a surge to the Braves lineup, then yeah, I think they absolutely can hold on because that's what they were looking for. They were looking for some offensive production. I will be surprised, Lindsay, though. I was quite shocked. Now you could probably answer more of this, but he was 6th in the lineup. He's normally at the bottom. He's normally like your second leadoff, sitting at 9th, right?
The first 2 seasons, they used him almost exclusively at the 9 spot. But right now, with so many injury backups they have in there, Whit Merrifield's in there. They've got Ramon Laureano, who was DFA'd. They've consistently moved him up all season, and he's been 5th, he's been 6th, he's been 7th. I honestly would like him to be back at 9, but I do think that's a luxury when you have your normal lineup back. You have Ozzie Albies back at second base. I think it's a luxury to get Michael Harris at 9. So put him wherever you got to put him. And also, last night, he was one of only 2 lefties in that lineup. They had Matt Olson, they had Michael Harris. That was it. And so they tried to put them, Olson batted 4th, and then Harris batted 6th to kind of make it where you really couldn't deploy a reliever just for Matt Olson. So I get it. I don't love it, but I get it.
Yeah, well, it worked out, so I'm not complaining. Just I thought that was just pretty interesting.
Yeah. Talking about more homers in San Francisco, Tyler Fitzgerald, first pitch he sees for the Giants to lead off the bottom of the first in a 5-0 hole, hits a home run, his 14th home run in 60 games. He's on just an absurd tear right now. 313 batting average with a 995 OPS. He has 179 at-bats, and yet he's 3rd in Rookie of the Year odds. Do we think he has any shot to get up into that top 2 and earn a year of service time or no?
And no, I don't think so. I think that even if you shut down Skenes, as we were talking about earlier, and if the way that Merrill's played, I just don't see it happening. If he started the season earlier, I think we would have a 3-way race. I'm shocked that he's already at 3rd in the race. I made a half joke about him last night in the conversation in the Discord between our group, saying like, is there a possible chance him getting up there? And I really don't think it's happening. But how great is it that you're starting to see a young hitter from San Francisco hit home runs? Like, we haven't seen this in a very long time. We're getting production out of that shortstop position, something that they just haven't had over years. Brandon Crawford held that position for so long. Now Tyler Fitzgerald looks like he's taking that over quite nicely. In the last 30 days, Tyler Fitzgerald is 3rd in all of baseball with those 14 home runs. So you got to love what the rookie's doing. I don't think it's going to get him 1-2 in the National League. I think if he was in the American League, might be a different story. Yeah. But still, what a great story for Tyler Fitzgerald.
It's a year of breakouts for them. Heliot Ramos, 83 games. He's 2nd on the team with 17 home runs. Matt Chapman has 19. He leads the team. And so just an amazing breakout. Them getting both Ramos and Fitzgerald makes you feel good about, the future for them there. They found a guy at shortstop, provided he can keep the strikeouts down. He had a bad strikeout rate in AA last year. But even then, you feel good about it. This has been First Pitch for Thursday, August 15th. If you are watching on YouTube, do us a favor, leave a comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. It means a ton. If you're on audio, leave us a 5-star review. Helps people discover the show and have a great place to come and get daily recaps of baseball. Until next time, this has been First Pitch.